Namaskar, Shrikant Dada.
Hello, namaste, everyone. So this is kind of a topic that's very favorite for at his heart, Dr. Vikram, and I think the one that triggered this meeting was Olga, and she talked about a book, how the your diet can affect your brain, and so based on that, that's triggered this meeting. Olga, if you want to say anything, you're welcome. But otherwise, go ahead, Vikram. You can get started.
All right. So Olga and I had a very nice conversation a couple days ago. So she was kind enough to explain to me that she had not received the book and therefore had not read it. So therefore she would not want to comment on it yet. But I did go and try to search for the author and heard a couple of her YouTube lectures, which was very nice. So she talks about how people who have depression can be treated with diet, as well as how we can prevent depression if we take care of our diet. So, of course, they've done many experiments and they've done correlations on what kind of diet or what diet pattern can lead to what kind of triggers that can affect our brain. So, all of that research is all great. But what I'm going to talk about is my intuition based on my personal experience. And of course, the reading or hearing I have done and the experiments I have done. And they are all on myself. So, I have not done the kind of scientific study people would want to publish in a journal with you know so many people and then double blind studies and things like that. So I've done none of those things. All right, so whatever I say here is going to be based on my experience. If your experience does not match with this, it doesn't really matter. If you disagree with me, that doesn't really matter. All I would suggest is listen to me with an open mind and see if what I'm telling you, the principles I have learned based on my experience, make sense to you. And if you want to do some of those experiments in your own life without hurting yourself, of course. So don't make any drastic changes in your diet pattern or your eating habits just because you heard them from me. Don't try to imitate me at all. Okay, I keep posting some photographs of my meals on our group, and some of you appreciate those photographs also, and some of you have a lot of questions how this kind of food or this much food will be adequate. So if I'm hungry after eating whatever you see on my plate, I do eat more. It's not that I deprive myself. Nobody should deprive himself or herself. If we are hungry, then we should eat. That is why the signal of hunger has been given to us by nature. Our problem is we eat when we are not hungry. A lot of us eat when we are not hungry, and if we eat even the best quality food when we are not hungry, that best quality food will turn into poison in our system. That is how nature is designed. You see, nature is designed perfectly. There are no mistakes in nature. All right. And nature runs very efficiently, extremely efficiently. There is no such thing as inefficiency in nature. In natural processes, there is no inefficiency. So I'll give you an example. You see, we must have seen videos, all of us must have seen videos of a tiger chasing a bunch of deer and trying to catch the deer, right? When it is hungry. So we'll see a whole bunch of deer running and the tiger chasing. The deer that gets caught is the one that's the slowest. Therefore, the inefficiency in the bunch of deer, in that entire flock of deer or bunch of deer, that inefficiency gets eliminated by nature. See, from that individual deer's point of view, the outcome is disastrous because its life is ended, right? In the whole process, it gets sacrificed. But from nature's point of view, what nature has done is it has eliminated the one specimen that was the least efficient, and the more efficient specimen were allowed to go away, right? And then once this tiger is full after eating the deer, then it will sit down and nobody will bother him and he will not bother anybody. So while the tiger is full and sitting and enjoying his meal, in front of that tiger, if another deer eats grass, the tiger will not get up. The tiger will not even look at him. Also, after the tiger has eaten whatever the tiger has eaten, the remaining portion of that meat is eaten by other animals, foxes, jackals, vultures. After that, maybe some ants, and after that, microorganisms. So the entire food chain gets established once the tiger has killed an animal. All right. And again, the tiger does not kill an animal unless the tiger is hungry. So in nature, if we see, no animal will kill another animal unless, you know, the animal is hungry. No animal will bother another animal if the other animal is not its food either. So about 4 or 6 months ago, I got a WhatsApp video. I will share it on this group if some of you have not seen it. There was a small frog that got caught in a cobweb. Okay, so after the frog was caught in the cobweb, very small, very tiny. The spider was, of course, very happy because he got a really big catch today, right? So after the frog was settled down, so the frog tried to release itself from the cobweb. Of course, it could not. Then it settled down. So then the spider gradually went to the frog and then tried to touch it. And then, as soon as the spider touched the frog, it got almost like a shock. There was some kind of toxin in the frog's skin that the spider was able to sense. And then he realized that the frog is not really my food. So, therefore, the spider said it's useless to unnecessarily kill this frog, isn't it? Baby frog. So then the spider took all the strings out from that frog, and then the frog fell down on the ground and went his way. So just see, in nature, no animal will unnecessarily bother another animal. Unnecessary bothering of another organism is essentially called rape. All right. In Sanskrit or Marathi, it is called balatkar, or Hindi. Balatkar means you are forcing another organism to do something against its wishes. All right. It's not rape as we understand, but the meaning of the word balatkar is like this. So, making another organism do something against its wishes. Nature doesn't do that. All right. So, why do we do that? See, we undertake any activity, all activity, because we want to please ourselves. Okay. We don't really understand the difference between pleasure and requirement or need. That's our problem. And we are unfortunately conditioned. We grow up in that kind of environment, especially in this country. We think more is better. So if we are eating something, then if I'm going to be full with a small burger, I don't eat burger, but I'm just giving you. So people will have double, triple burgers, gigantic burgers, and try to eat in such a way that it's really not even pleasant to look at. Why do we eat more? We think that if we eat something and we get pleasure, then we think that eating more of it will be more pleasurable. Unfortunately, that's not true. Okay. We may be able to overdo that for some time, and especially when we are young, but doing that continuously and consistently is against the laws of nature. You see, our body is nature's product. In fact, the human body and the human mechanism, the body as well as the mind and intellect, these are nature's ultimate creation. Nature finds its fulfillment in the human form. In any other life form, we don't see this kind of evolution. Okay. See, nature is exhibited as just matter in the earth and the water and things like that, right? It's just matter. When we come up to the vegetation level, the plants level, then we see existence as well as life. Then we come up to the animal level, where we see existence, life, as well as knowledge. So animals know intuitively where to go find food, how to find a mate, where to go lay eggs, things like that they know. All right. And when we come to the human level, then we experience existence, life, knowledge, as well as the capacity to manifest happiness, manifest joy. The ways in which we can manifest happiness, manifest joy is incredible. And this joy or infinite joy can be exhibited, can be manifested, and can be experienced only when we know ourselves. All right. So in existence, we see existence, life, knowledge, and an ability to know ourselves. So that ability to know ourselves exists only when we are in the human body. All right. So this is the evolution of the consciousness, right? So in our tradition, in the Vedic tradition, we heard about the avatars, right? So there are supposedly 8 or 10 avatars. Initially, life exhibited itself as fish, or we say that the divine manifested itself as fish to accomplish a certain goal. Then the same divine manifested itself as an amphibian, Matsyavatar and Kurmavatar. Then the same divine principle manifested itself as a terrestrial animal, the Varahavatar. Then the same consciousness manifested itself in half animal and half human being, that is the Narasimha Avatar. Then the fifth manifestation was a small dwarf called Vaman Avatar. The sixth manifestation was an angry young man called Parshuram. The seventh manifestation was a complete serene human being, man, Ram Avatar. And then the eighth manifestation was Krishna Avatar, which is divinity personified. Okay, so this is how consciousness has evolved. In fact, these experiences of consciousness we experience within ourselves also. So when we are in the mother's womb, we are swimming inside her womb, isn't it? So we are like a fish ourselves. Then we gradually come out. Then initially our nature is like an animal. In fact, the baby, when it comes out of the mother's womb, is lying on its back, right? So at that time, all we know is eating, excreting, and sleeping. That's all we know, isn't it? Then after some time, the baby starts moving. The baby starts thinking that these limbs, the hands and the legs, are useful for mobility. All right. So then it starts moving the limbs all over the place. But somehow it doesn't move. It doesn't realize that moving these limbs in the air is not going to be is not going to be helpful. So then the baby turns around. So in about 4, 5, 6 months, the baby will turn around. And then it tries to move like a snake, like a reptile. Okay. But doesn't go very far, right? Then suddenly it realizes that using the limbs can make it more mobile. So it starts crawling on 4 legs. So like a terrestrial animal. And then gradually it will start trying to get up on 2 legs because it sees everybody that everybody is walking on 2 legs, but there isn't enough strength in the legs to stand up and walk. The baby will fall many times, but it will still get up. It will learn how to walk, isn't it? Then for a long time, maybe until the baby is in sixth or seventh or eighth year, it will not have much of maturity at all. Okay, so this all evolution, the whole evolution is taking place from fish to amphibian to a terrestrial animal to half animal, half human, a tiny human, and then a teenager. And then the teenager is like an angry young man, right? Then as the person grows up, gets married, then he understands that, that angry young man phase as a teenager or as a young adult is not really helpful for living in this world properly. So thereafter, once the person is mature towards the older adult phase in one's life, one gets more interested in wanting to know about who one is. So, I mean, this is my own journey, so I'm just trying to explain that to you, which is very parallel to the way it is described in the Puranas, in the scriptures we have, right? You see, all of these scriptures and all of these stories are really meant to explain to us something. Okay? If we learn the lessons, the moral of the story from the scriptures or from the stories we hear, then we are truly wise. Because all of these stories, even if they are true, they happened many, many years ago. Does that time exist right now? No. That time or those stories exist in our mind. All right. And those stories have continued for ages and for thousands of years only because those stories have a deeper meaning to them. We have to learn who we are from those stories. Now, how is all of this connected with diet and brain and gut and brain axis and all that connection? See, I'm telling you all this because all of these things intuitively came to me after purifying my diet and thereby purifying my mind. I'm not saying that I purified my mind. All I'm saying is I consciously tried to purify my diet. And the reason I learned these principles is because in nature there is no inefficiency, right? So no animal eats more than necessary, and no animal consumes food that is not appropriate for it. All right. So a cow will not go and kill a rabbit because that is not her food. The cow will eat grass. Similarly, a lion or a tiger will not go and eat grass unless it has an upset stomach. That's what will happen. So if it has constipation, then maybe it will go and eat some grass and try to relieve itself of constipation. But every animal intuitively knows what kind of food is appropriate for it. Homo sapiens is the only animal who doesn't understand this even after millions of years of evolution. If you go to any library or a bookstore, the largest section would be on diet. And anybody who comes up with any new diet, they become a celebrity and they become the New York Times bestseller and they make millions of dollars and things like that. But even now, after supposedly learning so much about nutrition and diet and all that, are we any healthier today than people were 200 years ago? Debatable, isn't it? In fact, the entire food industry has become so industrialized and corporatized that we don't really get good food, natural food these days at all. In fact, the food I eat, I cannot claim it is all completely natural and things like that because I don't know what kind of pesticides were sprayed on it, how it was transported and things like that. But I do my best. What I have intuitively realized that even if you don't eat, strictly organic food and things like that, if you are able to eat, if you get it, if it is fresh, if it is palatable, if it is edible and all that, it's all great. Go ahead and do that. But even if you don't do that, even if you eat the regular food that is available in the market, so I go to the grocery store and whatever is the least expensive, I just go and buy, but all natural. Okay, so intuitively I realized that the best food for us would be what comes from nature without too much processing, and if it is eaten in limited quantity or adequate quantity, I would say, but only when I'm hungry, then that food will integrate in my system and get converted into my body tissues and whatever I need extremely efficiently. And what is the definition of efficiency? Whatever amount of material is coming in, all of that or most of that is converted seamlessly into whatever I require in the body, and as little of it is thrown away as possible. That is the definition of inefficiency. That is the definition of efficiency. All right. And inefficiency will be exactly the opposite. So I keep on eating a lot of material. I absorb only a small quantity of it. for my maintenance, and then I create a large quantity of waste. So let's just do math. Say I require, I'm just going to give you an example based on simple numbers so that you will understand the concept. These numbers are not sacrosanct, by the way. Let's assume that I have a requirement of say 100 grams worth of energy plus nutrition. And this includes everything. I'm just giving you an example, okay? To get this 100 grams worth of energy plus nutrition, I consume say 500 grams worth of actual material, out of which 100 gets absorbed or consumed, and then 400 I have to throw away, either as solid, liquid, or gas. All right. Now, if I process this 500 grams worth of material in any manner, whether I cook it, steam it, roast it, package it, whatever, then the nutritional and energy value in this material goes down. Okay. So let's say only half of it is now left over after processing. It will go down even further if we process it more and more. And if we keep it in the refrigerator and then eat it the next day, then the value is almost zero or very little. So let's say 50%. Then what happened? My requirement was 100. hmm, But after processing that requirement, or that, the essence that remained after processing was only 50, right? So in 500 grams worth of material, initially there was 100 grams of useful material for me. But now after processing, only 50 grams is left over. But my requirement is 100. Then what will I have to do? I will have to eat or consume 1000 grams worth of that material. Then out of that, I will get 100. And then what will happen? 900 grams worth of waste will be created. What have I done in this whole process? In this whole process, initially I was generating 400 grams worth of garbage. Now I am generating 900 grams worth of garbage. So my machine has become twice as efficient or better than twice as efficient in garbage production. Is that the purpose of human life? Or is that the purpose of human body? I don't think so. Because this is going against the intuitive understanding that nature is efficient and this body is a product of nature, right? Therefore, I actually consciously conducted this experiment. So I was eating mostly cooked or processed food at one time. Then I gradually reduced the percentage of cooked food or processed food and brought it down to zero in about 2 months. And then I said, okay, I'm feeling better during the whole journey, by the way. Of course, why will you not feel better if you are eating fresh food, if you are eating natural food, and most of it is natural, then you will feel good because natural food gets integrated into our system very well, very well. So the waste production went down as this experiment continued, right? So the body felt better from within. Then a time came when the percentage of cooked or processed food was zero and the percentage of natural food was 100%. Then I said, okay, let me continue this experiment for the next couple of weeks. So this was on the 1st of January of 19, or no, not 19, 2018. In 10 days, my face changed. There was a different kind of glow on the skin, and I was so surprised. I took a photograph and I was looking at my own photograph and I said, I'm looking so different now. And I'm, of course, feeling better. So then the experiment that was supposed to go on for 2 weeks, on the 1st of January 2018 until say the 15th of January 2018, that experiment is continuing even now. It just became a lifestyle because the experience of health was so good from within. So why would you not do what is working well in your life? If something is working well, then you will continue using it, isn't it? So this process I understood that yes, this body can be very efficiently run on very small quantity of natural food. What is this natural food? Leaves, flowers, fruits, vegetables, sprouts, nuts, seeds, those kinds of things. So if most of our food is like this, and if we feel like eating cooked food every now and then, you can eat cooked food, but the cooking process is, in a certain manner. If you want to cook something, then you should cook it in an open pot, not in a pressure cooker. Because when you pressure cook something, the amount of protein will be the same before and after cooking, but the protein will get denatured. And then that protein will be much more difficult to integrate into our system than natural protein. Then what will happen? We may consume whatever amount of protein the book says, 1 gram per kilogram of body weight or whatever, but not all of that will get actually absorbed. So, in my experience, if we eat protein after cooking, after processing, after pressure cooking, then that protein doesn't really do us much good. But if we eat natural protein in its natural form, then all of that protein gets absorbed into the system, integrated into the system much better. Then what happens? Whatever food we do not consume, say out of that 500 grams, 100 grams we consumed somehow, and we converted that into body tissues, and it became energy. But the remaining 400 grams worth of material will attract microbial population. See, any organic material, if you leave it even on the counter, if you come back after 2 days, you will see that it's really a culture of microorganisms, isn't it? Our body is full of microorganisms. In fact, we were born when we came out of the mother's womb. So while coming out in that whole channel, we got microbial bath in the mother's body, isn't it? So those microbes stay with us from birth until death. So these days, the children who don't come out the proper way and they have to be, you know, taken out surgically, the doctors will take a swab from the mother's body and then bathe the baby in that microbial culture, because otherwise the baby will not have the microbial population. So these microbes actually help us digest or process the waste material that we have in our body after we have extracted whatever juice we could extract. Now, the amount of organic matter that is left over is directly proportional to the amount of microbial population, because that is food for them. So the more food we eat, the more microbial population we have in our gut. You cannot escape it. Okay, because our body's requirement is only so much. If we eat too much more than our body's requirement, then the rest of that organic material will generate microbial population. Simple. So if we make that process efficient, then that microbial population is relatively low. So I usually joke that we live in a democracy, right? In a democracy, one person, one vote. So if we take a democratic election of one cell, one vote, do you know how many bacterial cells we have? The more food we eat, the more bacterial cells we have. So our own cells are supposed to be about 10 to 40 trillion human cells, our own body cells, right? So every organ has cells, isn't it? So those cells are total anywhere between 10 and 40. I don't know the exact number, it doesn't really matter. But the microbial population can be anywhere between 10 and 100 trillion, depending upon how much food we eat and how much microbial population we harbor, and so on and so forth. Okay. So if we eat more food than necessary, then what will happen? The number of cells of these microbes will be more than our own cells. Then when we do a democratic election, then we happen to be a minority government, or we happen to be in minority. So therefore we don't really run ourselves, the microbes run us. That's what happens. So when I did this experiment, obviously the microbial load in my gut went down, right? And then as we become the majority stakeholder in this system, then we call the shots. The way to do that is, now I've given you the background of this gut microbial population and how it interacts with us. But who's going to go and measure the number of cells? Is there a counter somewhere? No, you don't have to do that. All we have to do is to look at our hunger signals. So when we are hungry, if we eat, you sit down properly and eat a freshly cooked meal, whatever traditional food you eat, that's okay. I'm not even going to debate whether people eat vegetarian food or meat or vegan or raw vegan or whatever. That's all personal choice. Nobody can force anybody else to eat the way, I cannot force anybody to eat the way I eat, right? That will be an attack on your personal freedom, choice, privacy, and all those things. There is no need. Let people eat whatever they eat. If they realize and when they realize that what they are eating is not proper, and if they see me as an example and as an inspiration, then they will change on their own. I don't have to change anybody. I am only responsible for myself, isn't it? And I can only change myself. I cannot really change you. So, therefore, when I did this experiment, this was the result I found. And that result was so beautiful, so wonderful that that experiment has continued. And after getting the experience, I tried to put a framework around it. And the framework makes sense or seems to make sense. And then this result can be replicated in other people's experience as well. That's the reason last year, one of my sisters back home in Pune and I decided to start an initiative, and we call it Sattva, SATTV dot LIFE, Sattva dot life, in which we take participants in our program and take them on a journey for 90 days, for 3 months. During that time, what happens is we look at their own personal preferences, their occupation, their habits, their likes and dislikes, and we guide them individually from wherever they are to wherever they need to go. Okay. And then that experience they have to take themselves. See, I can only give you examples and you can see me, you can see my face. But how can I really explain to you how I'm feeling from within unless you feel like that from within yourself? That's the key. So once we undertake this journey, purify our diet, what happens is our gut microbial population settles. Okay. Now, another interesting thing is when we eat something and when we completely extract all the juice out of it, then whatever material is left over, that material will be eaten by such microbes that our body will not find as enemies or antagonistic because they are eating only our leftovers, which we cannot consume. So then there will be no fight. But if we eat a meal before getting hungry, what does that mean? It really means that the previous meal I have eaten has not been completely digested. Okay. So I put more food into my body. Then that undigested meal or partially digested meal gets pushed down in my gut because the stomach is just like our mouth. So unless the first batch is empty, you cannot put another batch into it. So while you're eating and chewing on a morsel of food, if you want to put another morsel into the mouth, can you really do that? No, you have to swallow this morsel and only then you can put another morsel. So there is a capacity of each chamber of our digestive system. So there is a chamber here, the mouth, where we chew the food, and the digestion process actually starts there. So if we don't chew our food well and make sure that the saliva mixes with the food, it will not get digested, or the digestion system below our mouth will get more, pressurized to digest the food that we have not completely digested in the mouth. So we should not do that. We should always masticate our food quite well before we swallow it. Okay. Then this food has in my stomach has not been digested completely, but I have eaten something else. So then undigested material goes down. Now on that undigested material, there is some portion of that food that I could have digested or I could have gotten the juice out of, which I did not do. On that material, microbes will grow. But those microbes, my body will see as enemies because now I'm competing for the same food, or they and I are competing for the same food, isn't it? So when there is a microbial population in my gut I see as enemies, what will my body do? My body will try to fight. And how does the body fight? By inflammation, isn't it? So if I have an injury on my hand, for example, on my skin, then it will become red, and sometimes it may even become infected. So you may see some pus and things like that. It's basically a microbial population. So within our body, such fighting is going on all the time when we overeat. But when we wait until we get hungry to eat our meal, then the fighting does not happen. because then we harbor only that microbial population which our body does not think of as enemies. You get it? This is very fundamental. That is the reason we should eat only when we are hungry. Then we maintain a proper microbial population in our body, in our gut. And those microbes actually give a strong signal to our brain. So there is a gut brain connection, okay, through our vagus nerve. You can look up this kind of research wherever you want, right? So our gut will send signals to our brain 9 times as many signals as the brain sends to gut. You know that? So the gut is actually more powerful than the brain. So that's why we say, the gut reaction, things like that. So if our gut is settled, this settled gut is actually helpful for whatever we do in life. Okay. Whether we want to be a yoga meditator, or whether we want to be a bus driver, or a plane pilot, or a scientist in NIH or somewhere else, it doesn't really matter. If our gut is settled, then whatever we do in life, we will do well. Okay. So if we maintain this kind of purity, if we maintain this kind of efficiency, then our mind, our brain also settles down. That has been my experience. Because initially, when or until about 4 years ago, when I was eating all kinds of processed food, I was eating vegetarian food, mind you. I was eating lacto vegetarian food. Every now and then, I may eat some eggs or some pastries or things like that which had eggs. But other than that, I was mostly on a plant based diet. Okay. But I was mostly eating cooked food, mostly eating or eating a lot of processed food. I was eating natural food. It wasn't that I was not eating natural food at all, but I was overeating. I was eating when I was not hungry. So all of those things were happening. And the manifestation of that is your body is not as light as you would like it to be. So I was overweight. I was 176 pounds, 80 kilos. So for my height, 5 foot 8 inches, my weight should be anywhere between 60 and 70, depending upon my age and things like that. So it's somewhere around 65 right now, or maybe in that ballpark, plus or minus. I don't even weigh myself anymore because I feel so light. I feel great. Your waist has to be less than half your total height. So my height is 5 foot 8, which is 68 inches. So my waist cannot be more than 34 inches. It used to be 36, 38 inches at one time. It has gone down to about 31 right now. So just imagine the shape I am in right now. And because of this, my body became very flexible. Our body becomes inflexible because of the fat. The body is more flexible when it has muscle. So if we maintain our body in that manner, then you can do a lot of yogasanas that we learn in this class much better than we were able to do when we were heavier. So that's another advantage. Your energy level goes up. You feel energetic all day long. Okay, your sleep quality improves. So when we sleep, then the sleep is deep sleep and the quantity goes down. So you don't need too much sleep. But whatever sleep you do get, it is very sound sleep. It is very deep sleep. So those are the great advantages of this diet purification program. And once the diet is purified, once we are eating only what we need, only as much as we need, then the subtlest portion of the food will get converted into what is called the ojas. Ojas is really the vitality. That vitality will be apparent in clear mind, in clear skin, glowing skin, and there is a certain magnetism in our personality because our mind is calm and we have compassionate thoughts towards everybody. So because of this, people like us because we don't complain. We express love through our speech as well as in our thoughts or even in our looks, right? So when you look at somebody, I'm sure we can recognize how somebody is looking at us, isn't it? But then we don't have those kind of thoughts in our mind. So our mind gets purified. This has happened to me naturally without my knowledge because this is what happens. This is what the Ayurvedic texts will tell us, that the subtlest portion of the food will get converted into your mind. So if you eat sattvic food, if you eat food that is good for you, that is conducive towards equilibrium and peace and balance, then the mind will also become like that. So once we live in this manner, then our mind does get purified. Then in that case, depression will not happen. In that case, our brain will remain very healthy at all times. And even if we have any diseases, any lifestyle diseases, any chronic diseases, those diseases will reverse. This has happened in many people's case. In my case, I had an irritable bowel syndrome. That has gone away. I used to have a lot of mucus in my excretory products. So that mucus has gone away. That mucus is basically all the excess bacterial population and their waste. So our body has to get rid of the excess microbial population and their waste also. Oh, why do that? Why put our body through such torture? It is better not to turn the body into a garbage manufacturing machine. It is better to use the body efficiently and use it to realize who we are. That's the purpose of human life. So if we do that, then the brain will remain just fine. Our gut is, imagine, 9 times stronger than the brain. So if we keep the gut calm, then the brain will also remain calm. I wish and I pray that all of us will have this experience while we are in this body, before we leave this body. Thank you very much for listening to me so patiently. I've talked for about 40 minutes. So I'll be happy to take questions. So if you want to ask any questions, what I will do is many people have actually written some questions in the chat. So I'm going to try to take those questions first and then maybe you can unmute yourself. So Anjali has asked me how she can start the 40-day program. It's actually a 90-day program. So by all means, send me a message on WhatsApp. I'm at 717-215-6481. And if you're outside India, outside the US, I don't know where you are. So you have to add +1 or 001 before you send me the WhatsApp. Then animals do have consciousness, is it not? Yeah, animals do have consciousness, but it is not manifested as vividly as it is manifested in the human body. Animals will be able to express consciousness, able to love also, but not express love the way we are able to do. And animals will not be able to recognize who they are. Animals will live in their own body and then behave according to the characteristics of that body. As I said, the cow will not go and chase a rabbit, and the lion will not go and eat grass unless he has constipation. If humans have consciousness, why they behave differently? I would say humans need to harness being conscious by learning from animals, such so-called lower sense organisms. Yes, so that's why we do all these yogasanas, no? We do the Matsyasana, we do the Makarasana, we do the Bakasana, and we do the Mayurasana, we do Simhasana, all kinds of asana we do. We do the Marjarasana, we do the cow pose, all these poses we do. We try to get into that kind of pose of the body and get into that kind of consciousness also, so to say. I don't know whether we consciously go there or not, but these, at least with the body, we can imitate those animals. Those poses actually help us detoxify our body from within. Our internal organs will get squeezed and released and things like that. So, you will know more about it through Shrikant Dada or anybody, who is even more expert in yoga than I am. I do my yogasanas and Surya Namaskar every day. About that, there is no doubt. Okay, but there are more advanced people and more knowledgeable people in yoga than I am. So you can ask them. Consciously doing something is paramount, yes. Then rather we are going backwards in our understanding of dietary discipline. We are not going backwards, Baba. We are learning from nature and we are observing our own experience when we are doing that also, isn't it? You yourself have experienced this, Aniket. So this was a question from Aniket Nanda. Then, will you prefer eating with a feeding tube like in a hospital where you can get exact nutrients you want with minimal wastage? Of course not. Do you know how much wastage I will generate in manufacturing those tubes and things like that? No need. Whatever nature is giving to me plentifully without any processing, without any energy input into it, just consume that when I'm hungry, only to the extent it is necessary. That will be good. Pus composed of white blood cells, not just microbes alone. Okay, thank you for correcting me. That's great. I'm not a doctor. You must have noticed by now. I'm a I'm an environmental engineer, not a doctor. So as I said, whatever I say to you, it's all intuitive and based on personal experience. You may not agree with me and you may correct me, and I'm happy to be corrected by you. I'm happy to be proven wrong. Absolutely no doubt. I have no ego at all. If I'm proven wrong, I will do what you say. It doesn't really matter. So, what's his WhatsApp number? He said, you can have my WhatsApp number. I will type it here. Or Pooja, my sister, has given her WhatsApp number. She's in India, so you have to add +91 before you send a message to her number. Instead of pressure cooker, can you use slow cooker to cook dal and beans? Yes. And then if it is not pressurized and if there is a way for the steam to go out, I think that's okay. Satish is asking. Mucus is secreted by colonic epithelial cells. That is also true, but the mucus amount goes down drastically when you are on natural diet. That I have experienced myself. You can also try to do that. If you go on a completely natural diet for 2-3 days, the mucus will go away. You will have no mucus in your sinuses either. So your pranayama will happen. You don't have to do pranayama. Not question. Acha, general. Okay, that's fine. What else? That's great. So I have run out of the questions in the chat. So now you are most welcome to unmute and ask the question if you wish. There are 14 more minutes. We have decided to do the program for an hour.
Questions?
Yes,
So,
Olga.
hi. First of all, I just want to tell people about how to recognize if you're really hungry or it's just in your head. It's very easy trick of it. Do you know it?
Yeah, please tell us.
It's just drink water. Just drink warm water.
Okay.
And because body careless, is it food or liquid, the most important your input.
Uh-huh.
And you will recognize it's really hunger. And after water, big glass of water. And after this, my question, how much you drink and what are you drinking during
How
the
much water do I drink and how much I drink?
and what you drink? What is your
What do I
drink?
drink?
Tea, juice?
Okay, so I rarely drink anything because most of my food is actually water. So whatever fruits I eat, they are natural water, they have natural water content, isn't it? So that much water is sufficient to hydrate my body for the whole day. Besides the 2 meals I eat and I post the pictures, usually I end up drinking about a handful of water in the early morning. In the early morning, what do I do? When I get up, before brushing the teeth, you have to do this. You take this much water and then fill up your entire mouth with water and move it around, swish it, and then just gently drink it. Okay, don't throw it away because during the night the saliva and the microbes in our mouth, they are actually helpful for us to digest whatever we might have eaten on the previous day, or even that microbial population and that saliva is useful for us. So we should just drink that water. If we do that, that's all I do. And then when I eat my first meal, whatever water goes with the fruit is sufficient until the next meal. And then the next meal is sufficient to keep me hydrated until the following morning. So I really rarely drink any water unless I'm working outside and then I get really thirsty. But my experience has been when we eat natural food without processing, that food will hydrate us much better than the water we drink. There is no need to drink extra water. So the rule for drinking water is you should drink water when you're thirsty, and when you're hungry, you should eat. So I get hungry twice a day and I eat twice a day. I don't get thirsty, so I don't drink water. So if I am thirsty and if I want to drink, then I will drink only water, not nothing more than that.
Because generally it's calculated 30 gram per 1 kilogram weight. It's how generally people.
Correct. So that water requirement is also based on the amount of cooked food, processed food, and salty food we eat. So if we eat a lot of cooked food gets dehydrated. So the natural water in that food gets evaporated, no? Then if we drink more water, we may end up drinking more water, but that doesn't really get absorbed in our system as well as the water that comes from natural food. That has been my experience. So, you must have recognized, or many of you might have realized that when we eat a pizza, then we get very thirsty
Sure.
because we eat a lot of processed and salty food, isn't it?
Correct.
So when we don't do that, you try this experiment. No, so don't believe any of the stuff I'm telling you.
No, I understand.
So
I
all of those general requirements or whatever numbers we see in the books are for general diet. And
sure.
general diet, it is assumed that people will eat burgers and fries and this and that and all that. So that is not true. So anyway, you experiment and see. Thank you so much. First of all, I should thank you that you triggered this whole conversation. Everybody blaming you and all that was actually a joke. Nobody's going to blame you. I did not blame you. I loved your question and I loved talking to you. So it was great. Thank you so much. And thanks for your comment. Appreciate it.
I
All
have
right.
more, but maybe
Yeah,
in
I think other
I
people
have,
also have questions. So I think
okay.
two people had unmuted themselves. I think Ramesh and Selvan. So why don't you go one by one? Maybe Ramesh can go first and then Selvan can go next. Ramesh, are you there?
And I have a question to Dr. Vikram.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take questions, no problem. So Ramesh, I don't hear you. You have to unmute yourself and then talk. So if Ramesh is not there, then maybe Selvan can talk.
Oh, Dr. Vikram, it's wonderful talk and appreciate it.
Thank you
Uh,
very much.
um,
So nice to see you.
yes, again, after a long time. My question to you is, I enjoyed your talk and then, as usual, your own personal journey. Just a quick question because other people may want to ask question. A lot of people say dairy product is not that good and kind of eliminate, blah, blah, blah. What is your take on?
Great. So that question gets asked quite a bit. Okay, so I don't take dairy personally. Okay, I take very little, if at all. Sometimes I may have ghee, but over the past few days, I have tried to consciously not consume dairy because I think I have shared this in the group, but I will share again in case somebody might have missed it. Because of dairy, the environmental impact is just so huge that we are destroying this planet because of the dairy industry. All right, so we need to consume dairy just for medicine, if at all, I would say. We've really grown up having dairy products. It's not that dairy we cannot digest, but really milk is necessary for every mammal from its own mother only up to a certain age. Okay. Now, by drinking some other animal's milk, we will not die. Okay. So it's not necessarily poison for us. I mean, I've had dairy products before and I haven't died or whatever, but it's not a good idea in today's age. Okay. So today, the way the dairy industry has ravaged the planet, it is better not to consume dairy. And then when we send a signal to the industry, then the industry will fall in line. So in fact, I think I had given this example at some other webinar in the past. If we are a bunch of friends and we want to go out, okay, so where will we end up going? We will end up going to that restaurant which has vegan alternatives, isn't it? So therefore, the vegan alternative restaurant will have more choices and will get more customers. So if we only patronize those businesses which provide vegan alternatives or are mostly vegan, then those that are not in that category, their business will go down and ultimately they will be forced to have vegan alternatives. Right? That's what will happen. So in fact, this is how this whole environmental movement has encouraged, actually forced the industry to go green, isn't it? So now every industry, every business is touting their own green credentials and telling everybody that we are so green, we are greener than the next business, and so on and so forth, because the consumers are demanding it. So when we change our own choices, then we force the industry to cater to our demands. So that's what I'm going to share with you, a video by Dr. Shailesh Rao, who has an organization called Climate Healers. I think it's a fascinating work. It's fascinating work he's doing. I think you should follow that. I think Jyoti ne Ramesh, I think why don't you ask your question first? Jyoti, एक मिनट थांबून जा please.
Can you hear me? But
No, I cannot hear you. Your volume is or voice is so low. Can anybody else hear him?
I have typed my question. I have typed my question.
Okay, so let me see the chat here and I will take your question.
What do your
What do your two meals contain? So, okay, so I have actually posted the photograph of my meal on the yoga group today.
okay?
Most of my meal actually contains fruits, soaked nuts, and some seeds. That's all. and one can live very easily on that. Sometimes I will eat some vegetables, like I eat some baby carrots or I eat some spinach, I eat beet every now and then. Vegetables I will eat. Sometimes I saute the vegetables also.
Yeah.
Every now and then, maybe once a week or twice, once in 2 weeks, I may have a sorted vegetable. And some, my family, of course, cooks food for themselves. So my wife is a great cook. She cooks food for our son and she cooks for herself also. So sometimes I will have some vegetable. Sometimes I may have some rice. Sometimes I also eat some dal or some sprouts, things like that. It's okay. But
Yeah.
that first fundamental rule, I will not eat until I'm hungry, that rule is sacrosanct. So when I eat processed food, I know I am eating more material than necessary based on the principles I just explained to you. So I know that that particular day I'm creating more garbage. That's okay. I mean, as long as I do it consciously and I don't overdo it, I don't do it consistently, then I'm okay. That's completely okay. So that was your question, Rameshji. Thank you for asking that question. Next question, why don't you ask Jyoti, please?
Yeah, my question is that regarding, I'm just trying to clarify what you have said, whether I've understood it right.
Okay.
The tur dal, which you said it's better not to pressure cook
Huh.
because that loses its, the protein value. But on the other hand, other side of the coin is that if you do not cook the dal very well, whichever, whether it's rajma or tur, then the proteins of that becomes too heavy to digest for the liver and the stomach. That is why one soaks it, and it takes hours if you are going to cook it open on the gas. Now simultaneously one person asked whether slow cooker is okay, but the pressure cooker and the slow cooker both are, one is on the gas and other is electric. So if you can do it on the slow cooker, why not in the pressure cooker? That is my first question. And second question, the water which you said, which you drink in the morning without brushing the teeth, I had read about that about few years ago, about 6-7 years ago. And that said was to build up the Ayurveda. There was an Ayurvedic doctor which I read in India this week. And she said that was to build the immunity. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's fine. So as I said, I'm not an Ayurvedic physician either.
No,
So
no. But I just asked
so
you.
I do that as a practice and it helps me. Okay. Another interesting fact. If you eat mostly natural diet, in the morning your mouth will be very fresh and there will be no need to brush your teeth at all. It will be very clean. I do brush my teeth and floss my teeth before going to bed.
Yes.
Okay, but when I get up in the morning, I don't need to brush my teeth, so I can easily drink water. I feel quite fresh. There
Okay.
is no problem. See, natural food has the tendency to clean your teeth and strengthen your gums. See, that's why in India, traditionally people have used the datun, and that datun is basically a twig that you soften initially in your own mouth, and then that softened twig you use for cleaning up your teeth,
Yeah,
and
that is a neem stick actually. That
yeah, neem
datun
stick.
is a neem stick. Yeah,
Neem
it's
and
a neem
Babul
stick.
also, I think they use, no? They
Yeah,
use
neem.
both of them.
Yeah,
So that's fine. See, I don't need to use that at all. I'm telling you.
yeah.
When I go to my doctor, the dentist, once every 6 to 8 months, they look at my teeth and they say, nothing wrong with your teeth at all. So the girl will finish cleaning just like this within 5 minutes and done. That's all. It's very useful for your oral health. If you eat natural food, your oral health is phenomenally good. Okay. So your water question, right?
Yes,
Uh,
the first one was the tur dal. Yeah.
First one was the
Tur
did I
dal.
answer? Tur
The
dal.
tur
Okay. Okay,
tur
the
dal.
tur dal. Chalo, the tur dal I'll answer question on tur dal. So tur dal, if you soak it overnight first, then you wash it, throw the water away. Okay. Then you put that tur dal in boiling water, 4 times as much as the tur dal. Then let it boil. It will become soft after some time. Then what will happen is there will be some foam on top. That foam is also to be thrown away because that foam contains the material that the tur dal is wanting to get rid of. Throw that away. Whatever remains, that will be okay. If we pressure cook the dal, then the protein definitely gets denatured. Okay, when you cook it, simmer it in an open pot, even if you cook rajma like this, then it will retain its protein much better. Actually, if you do this whole process in an earthen pot, that's even better. Then it will retain almost 100% of its protein value. When we are cooking it in, you know, especially aluminum pot is not good at all. So, in fact, I eat very little dal these days. Mostly I will eat sprouts if I feel like, or I eat soaked nuts. In fact, peanuts have more protein than moong dal. So I eat soaked peanuts and they're tastier than moong dal, easier to soak, and they taste sweet in the morning.
Can you share, Dr. Vikram, which dals do you sprout?
I use moong dal for sprouting. You can sprout whatever dal you want. You can sprout chana dal also, but that is heavier to digest. Huh? And by the way, don't eat any sprouts in the night. In fact, I don't eat anything at night at all. My second meal usually is before 4 o'clock. Today it was a bit late, so I ate at 4 or 4:15. But normally my meal is over by about 3 o'clock. So at 2 o'clock I have my lunch, and morning maybe anywhere between 8 and 10 I have my breakfast. So these are the two meals I normally eat, and then dinner I don't eat at all. So then I get very nice sleep. So I have not eaten since my dinner. I ate a supper today. I posted the picture of my supper, which was at 4:15 or so. So I got up at 5 o'clock. So since 5 o'clock, it's about what 4.5 hours. I've digested my food completely. So I'll have a nice sound sleep. But normally I finish my meal around say 3 o'clock. So by 2 I start eating, and by 3 I finish. So that's the what is I think Amit's iPad. Who is Amit? You have to unmute yourself, please.
I mean, Jai Sri Mukashi. I am
Namaskar.
Jayashree, and I
Yes.
would like to ask a question. Nowadays, people like to drink smoothies, which are, of course, not cooked or anything. But is it good to drink smoothie or eat the fruits like that?
Okay, so I've eaten smoothie, or I do eat smoothie every now and then, but it is better to eat the fruits just like that, because while you are eating and chewing the fruit, then saliva gets released. So when I eat the smoothie or drink the smoothie, I don't really drink because my smoothie is almost like a chutney. It's almost very thick. So I have to eat it with my spoon. And then I keep the spoonful in my mouth for a while until it gets mixed with the saliva, and then I swallow it. So I don't prefer to eat smoothie or drink smoothie. I prefer to actually eat the fruit as it is, because then I have to chew it. But then sometimes I may not have time, or I'm making some smoothie for my wife, so I also have the smoothie with her. So that way I don't dislike smoothie, or I'm not saying that you should not. And maybe a day will come I don't feel like chewing too much at all. I just want to make the smoothie, keep it in my mouth for a while, and then swallow it. It's okay. It's all your choice. But even smoothie or eating the fruit as it is chewing, the effect is the same. The body feels very good from within. So great. Thank you for this question. Anybody else? And there are a couple of other questions on the chat. So let me make sure that I have answered them. What about yogurt or buttermilk? If it suits you, it's okay. But as I said, dairy products are not good environmentally right now. So it is better not to consume dairy products. If you don't have buttermilk or yogurt, you will not die. Okay. Without dairy products, people can live very easily and very well, in fact. Can we drink almond milk rather than regular milk? You should make your own almond milk at home rather than buying it in the store, because I don't know how they process it and when they process it. It is better to just chew your almonds. I soak my almonds and I eat them. Somebody else had unmuted and wanted to ask a question. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. You already answered my question about almond milk.
Okay, रजनी जोगळेकर आहे का की कोणी दुसरं आहे?
Rajani Kulkarni.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I mistook you for Rajni Zoglekar. So I talked to you as if you were Rajni Zoglekar earlier. So anyway, but I'm glad you're here. That's great.
I have a question, if I may ask.
Yes, please.
What is the food that you eat? I never could understand what is the food that you eat.
What is the food I do eat? I eat mostly fruits, vegetables, soaked nuts, and sprouts.
Is there a list of something? Or picture?
Any fruit you go, any seasonal fruit you go get in the market, whatever you get in the market, you eat. I eat banana, I eat apple, I eat pears, I eat grapes, I eat oranges, I eat pineapple, I eat mangoes these days. They are wonderful.
Fruit, the whole meal, and no salad or anything else.
Salad means if you feel like eating salad, or if you want to feel like eating vegetables, some leaves like spinach.
No, I'd like to know. Can you post your list of food that you eat?
Yeah. Whatever list, natural food you can eat and digest. Whatever you can eat without processing, you eat.
I'd like to see a list of what you mean by natural food.
Natural food means four items, only 4 items. Okay. One is fruits, ripe seasonal fruits, local fruits. Whatever you get in the market plentifully, whatever is the cheapest is coming to the market because it is plentiful, right? So go buy that, and 50% of your food should be the cheapest fruit in the market on that day. Okay. So eating like this is actually good on the wallet. Secondly, you don't have to cook. So your time spent on cooking is saved.
Besides fruit, what do you eat?
And thirdly, no, I will tell you, thirdly, you don't have to do your dishes. Bartan nahi ghasne padte. So I eat fruit. So I told you, I gave you the list of fruits. So whatever fruits are available in the market, cheap, seasonal, I buy plenty of them and I eat them. 50% of my food is the cheapest fruit on the market. So usually I eat a lot of bananas. The bananas are quite cheap. I eat oranges. When grapes are cheap, I buy grapes. When strawberries are cheap, I buy strawberries. When mangoes are cheap, I buy mangoes. When pineapple is cheap, I buy pineapple. I bought a big watermelon because watermelon is now in season. I haven't really opened it yet because once we open, then we have to finish it within a day or two, right? So right now, watermelon is good. Cantaloupe we bought. So any fruit you like, you eat.
Fruit, I have not heard anything else. Besides
Okay.
fruit.
Okay, then vegetables, you can eat whatever you can digest, you can eat. I
What do
eat
you
very
eat?
few vegetables.
Like
I eat baby carrots sometimes. I eat spinach sometimes. I eat beetroot sometimes. So those are the vegetables I eat. Broccoli I eat. Sometimes I eat cabbage or cauliflower. Sometimes I saute the vegetables also okay. So these vegetables, whatever is available in the market, I eat. Okay, then nuts I eat every day because that is my fat source and protein source. Soaked nuts. So I soak peanuts about a handful and they become twice as big after soaking. So I eat those for my fat and protein. Then I have a couple of almonds, couple of walnuts. Sometimes I eat pistachios. I eat some seeds like sunflower seed or pumpkin seed. Those seeds I eat. So those are the sources of protein, minerals, as well as fats. So that's all I eat. I don't rarely eat rice or chapati or whatever. Chapati I very rarely eat. Rice sometimes I will eat. Freshly cooked rice. I freshly cooked khichdi sometimes I will eat. No problem. But very rarely. When I eat cooked food, I don't feel as good as when I feel when I eat only natural food. So that is, see, this is an evolution that has happened in the last 3 years. Don't go ahead and do that right now at your age. If you switch completely from a cooked diet to a raw diet, your system will get upset. Don't do that. There is a whole, so that's why we run this whole program, no? Like a 90-day guidance program. So if you feel like joining that, by all means, it's a personalized program.
So beside fruit and carrots and spinach, I didn't hear third and fourth items.
That's
That's
okay.
it.
I mean, whatever you get in the market, whatever you feel like eating. Sometimes I'll eat kale. It's okay. You eat greens sometimes. Whatever you feel like eating, natural, without cooking it. I will not eat bengan. I will not eat eggplant, by the way, or I will not eat a potato because you cannot eat it without cooking, isn't it? Even with cooking, it is better not to eat eggplant and potato.
Okay, thank you.
So you're most welcome. Who else was asking questions? Somebody was unmuted, right? Sheetal?
Hi. Yeah. I had a question regarding the carbs, especially from the grains.
Uh-huh.
I've read somewhere that you need good carbs from grains for the functioning of brain, especially, like whole wheat, whole grains. They
Uh-huh.
are needed for good functioning of brain. Is that true?
Not really. I get natural carbs from the fruits I eat and my brain functions just fine. I haven't really forgotten anything I've told you, right? So far, my presentation was okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
this.
wasn't disjointed or disconnected, right? It was all logical. It was flowing nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you eat natural sugar, natural carbohydrates that comes to you from the fruits, your brain functions just fine. Brain is the only organ that really requires sugar, by the way.
Mm.
So it will take sugar from your blood and then it
Okay.
functions well.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? Any other questions?
Yes, Dr. Vikram, you said you post all this on the yoga. I mean, where do you post this?
On the
All
Shri
the pictures?
Yoga, I post every now and then. There is our own WhatsApp group of the people who participate in the program. They get to see both of my meals every day.
Okay.
So by
Also,
all means, yeah, you're welcome to join the group. I gave, I'm going to type my phone number here. 1717-215-6481.
but on the Shri Yoga, I mean,
Jyoti, you're not in the meditation group. You need to be part of the meditation WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I was wondering.
Jyoti, I will just send it to you separately now. What is there?
Okay, thank
to
you.
send you a meal picture doesn't cost me anything. Happy to share it with you. No problem.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
it is said that people with diabetes cannot take lots of fruits. So this diet won't work for them.
Actually, if you eat mostly natural food and if you eat only twice a day, you can eat the fruit you feel like eating, your diabetes will go away. I have a good friend, 63-year-old, he's in upstate New York, and he reversed his diabetes. His medicines went away. So there is absolutely no problem. Fruits can be eaten by people who have diabetes, but only if they eat twice a day. You cannot keep eating all the time. So, if you have diabetes or if somebody has diabetes and they want to reverse it and they want to join our diet purification program, they are most welcome to. I just shared my number also. Didn't get your WhatsApp on chat. Okay, Esrar one. See, this is on my. I don't have your WhatsApp number, so you can contact me on. I gave you my number 717-215-6481. That's in the US, so it's 001 before that or +1, whatever. आरती हर्डीकर आपल्याला काही प्रश्न विचारायचा होता का? Aarti Hardikar, did you have a question? You had unmuted yourself. All right, well, we've actually gone 10 minutes beyond the time. So why don't we stop here? I've given you my number. By all means, send me a message by WhatsApp and I'll be happy to answer your question. Great. So Shrikant Dada, we can conclude.
Thank you, Vikram, very much.
Okay then. Have a good night, everybody. Namaste.
Thank you very much.